Growing up, I only owned a PlayStation 2 at some point, and I really didn't follow PlayStation after that. And I have heard of Gran Turismo, the game, but I have never played it before. I did check out Gran Turismo in the theater in 4DX. What did I think about this film as it's getting a lot of rave reviews? Do I agree, or do I simply think it's a waste of time? Well, stick around and let's discuss the film. Based on the unbelievable, inspiring true story of a team of underdogs, a struggling working-class gamer, a failed former race car driver, and an idealistic motorsport exec who risk it all to take on the most elite sport in the world. The film stars David Harbour, Orlando Bloom, Archie Madekwe, Darren Barnet, Geri and Djimon Hounsou, and many others, and was directed by Neill Blomkamp, and he's done films like District 9, Chappie, Elysium, and Demonic. Gran Turismo, I did see a trailer for this film before checking it out. It got delayed weeks ago, and a lot of reviews were on YouTube, and a lot of people were really raving about this film. And I was optimistically cautious going into this film. I actually did see this film in 4DX, and this is the first film that I've ever seen in 4DX. It's really expensive, and it's usually not something that I'm really looking to go into, but the way that the times lined up, I wanted to go a little bit earlier. I knew this film was going to be a longer film, so I went ahead and I was like, what the heck, I'll do 4DX and see how this film is presented in this format. And I will say this, as far as the production level with 4DX and the way that they use this film in 4DX, I thought it was a fun time. If you like rides and where you're getting shoved around and pushed around and shaking in your seat and feeling stuff like the wind when they're racing and stuff where like they're changing gears and when there's crashes and you're just tossing around in your seat, you'll really like the experience. And I think that's what really actually elevated the experience for this film. The plot of this film is very simple. You have Orlando Bloom, who is an executive from Nissan. And I learned in this film that Nissan is pronounced Nissan. I've been calling it Nissan my entire life. He is this executive that puts on this race simulator game, Gran Turismo, and whoever wins the game, they get to go to the academy and become a real race car driver. He also recruits this guy named Jack, played by David Harbour, and he's going to be the pit crew chief whoever wins the race. You also have Archie Madekwe, who plays Jan. He is the big racer here that wants to be a race car driver for real. And of course, he has this plot with his dad, played by Djimon Hounsou, where he's just like, well, what are you going to do with your life? Being a video gamer is not the way to go, and that's not a real career. And he wants to really think about his life. His mother in here, played by Geri, and I felt her character didn't really have a lot to do, and I didn't even know that she was Ginger Spice from the Spice Girls, so that was really interesting. I didn't even know that she even acted. I don't think she did a bad job, but I don't think they just didn't give her a lot to do, so her character was just kind of there, and I felt like the father really had the upper hand and really trying to control the kid throughout the film. When Jan is in this racing school, he obviously wins, you know that in the trailers, and he's going to become a real race car driver. Now, when we get to this point in the film, I think this is where the film gets a little bit more interesting because we get to see a lot of different tracks. And like I was saying in the 4DX experience, you get to actually experience like the wind when they're going really fast, when there's crashes, your seat is rocking back and forth. And I think that really elevated that experience with these races. There is a lot of action. You have people turning corners. You have actual things to the game. Like for instance, when someone is switching a position, they have the graphic up there like from the game and what place they're in, which I thought was a really cool touch. I think a lot of the tracks are very unique, and I think with those tracks when he's competing in different countries, it makes it really exciting because you don't really know what he's really going to face or what dangers he could face. And in this film, he does face some dangers that really make him feel like he's going to go off course, and is he really going to stick with it? I even read with the racing in this film that the real Jan actually was the stunt double here, and they filmed most of this in Hungary as well. So you can really tell with this film and the filming of the tracks and the cinematography in this film, they went really all out to really capture the experience of racing. David Harbour also elevates the film a lot because he has some funny jokes that he has throughout this film. This is not a full-fledged comedy or anything like that, but I think he brings a lot of charisma to the character as his pit crew chief, and him just training up this young kid. Whenever he goes into a race, he's listening to Kenny G, or he's listening to the song Sail Away. I thought that was a nice touch, and apparently that's a true thing that this racer actually did in real life, so I thought that was really cool that was incorporated in the film. I really like that they had a backstory for David Harbour's character. I like that they show why he actually quit racing and why he's in the particular predicament that he's in now, and it adds a little bit more traits to the character where you can feel like you really want to root for him as a character. As far as the main character, Archie Madekwe, played as Jan, I think his character is a little bland. I think he's a little stale, definitely through the first 45, 50 minutes, even hour of this film. I felt like his character was pretty bland, pretty boring. When he was reading his dialogue, it's like reading dialogue with nails on a chalkboard. Just not a very interesting character to me. I think more so when he's going through the racing simulations later on and actually going on the different tracks and it's getting more experience and stuff like that, I think his character builds a little bit more for me, but I'm still not really sold on him as an actor. I've never seen him in any other films. I felt overall he was the weakest point of the film, other than the fact that they try to throw in this generic story with his father trying to tell him that racing is not a real career. We've seen that done many of times. I also thought they put a love story in here that was just kind of random to me. There's one part where he's looking at photos on Instagram and he's liking photos of this girl, and then all of a sudden when he's going to another race, he flies this said girl out and they hang out and they go to a club and they're having their little love story or whatever. But I was just like, this is like wasting time. We don't even need this. Why do we care? It felt so generic to just put that in the story, and it didn't need to even add into the story because this story is about racing. We didn't even know that he even had a girlfriend until later on in the film, and they just throw it midway into the film, and it definitely slows the momentum down of the film. Danny Moore, played by Orlando Bloom, the executive for Nissan. I thought his character was just kind of mad at me. I really wasn't really caring much for his acting. I didn't really feel like he fit the role at times, and I just felt like he's just kind of reading off his lines in certain parts of the film. I never really got behind his character, and I just felt like he was just kind of lackluster in the film. Thank God he isn't really in the film all the time, and I feel like he's not always a big focus or anything like that, so I could kind of glimpse over his acting through most of this film. One of the most intense scenes is when they go to do this 24-hour race. I didn't even know this was a thing, but the fact that they have 3 drivers in a team race 24 hours on this track, that's absolutely amazing, and what an accomplishment to actually be a part of that. I think that was the most intense of all the races. And what was really cool in the 40X too, there's a part where it rains in there and they actually sprinkled water on you, and then they had the fans going as well. So I thought that was really cool because it really made you feel like you were in the race during the nighttime when there is some nighttime scenes as well. I think overall, if you really like racing, I don't think you're going to be disappointed with the racing aspect of this film. There's plenty of racing action, plenty of crashes, wide turns, everything that you're looking for if you are a racing fan. If you're looking for a really, really good story, I think it's going to depend. I think it's going to depend if you are more so a critic and you're really looking at these characters individually. But if you're looking at this as a non-film critic and just a regular person going into this film with not really watching a lot of films or just kind of casually watching films, I think that you can enjoy this film, and I think that you're going to overlook some of the generic plot points that are in this film and some of the generic things they try to throw into the film. So as far as a score for this film, I would give it a 3 out of 5. I think it's a solid film in a way. I think it definitely has its flaws, and the main character being kind of boring definitely brings the score down for me. But I do think the racing, like I said, elevates the film a lot for this. And I think also the 4DX experience elevated it as well. I think on a rewatch, I don't think it would be as fun without the 4DX experience. But I do think the racing, if you're really looking to watch a good racing film, or if I would want to watch this again and watch just the racing portions, I think those parts are fun about the film. But thank you guys for watching this review. Let me know in the comments, what did you think about Gran Turismo? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? And have you played the games before? Like I said, never played them. What do you think about the games? I think they have like 7 or 8 games now, so I'm curious, do they really change from game to game, or is it pretty much the same with each game? Thank you guys for checking out this review, and I will see you guys on my next review.